Hello YouTube, my name is Scott Perdue. I'm an Amazon author of over 100 books, tons of Christian books, self-help books out there for you. Next time you're on Amazon, go to the search bar, type in my name, Scott Perdue. Pull up all those wonderful options, add some to cart, get them in transit to you right away. There's life-changing wisdom there for you that you'll want to get in your life right away. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about a book that I recently published called The King's Highway. Lean into Jesus for accelerated success. Today's lesson is about walking in God's path, the highway of holiness. Walking the King's Highway in Israel, finding purpose through faith in Jesus. The King's Highway, a route that stretches through the ancient Levant, has captivated historians, travelers, and spiritual seekers for centuries. Its significance transcends geography and history, serving as a symbol of the journey of faith. For modern believers, the King's Highway represents more than an ancient trade route. It offers profound insights into walking in God's path, discovering purpose, and living a life set apart for Him. Anchored in the promise of Isaiah 35:8, which proclaims, "And a highway will be there, and it will be called the way of holiness." The physical and spiritual journey along the ancient path reflects the transformative power of faith in Jesus. The way of holiness, living a life set apart for God. The biblical prophecy in Isaiah 35 speaks of a highway that will lead God's people to safety, joy, and restoration. This way of holiness is not just a literal road, but a spiritual metaphor for a path of righteousness that God calls believers to walk. It reflects a life set apart, marked by obedience, trust, and purpose. Much like the ancient King's Highway, which connected distant lands and facilitated communication and commerce, the spiritual highway draws believers closer to God and to their divine calling. To walk the highway of holiness is to align one's life with God's will, surrendering worldly distractions for the eternal promises of His kingdom. Walking in holiness requires commitment and intentionality, qualities reflected in the structure and the use of the King's Highway. The ancient travelers who navigated this route depended on its consistent direction, safe passage, and the promise of reaching their destination. Similarly, believers must trust that God's path, though sometimes challenging, leads to ultimate fulfillment. Parallels between the King's Highway and the spiritual journey. A set path. The King's Highway was clearly a defined route stretching from the Red Sea to the fertile regions of the Levant. It served as a guide for travelers, enabling them to reach their destinations without unnecessary detours. In the same way, the spiritual highway of holiness is a path laid out by God. His word provides direction, ensuring that those who follow it do not stray. All right. Do not stray. Isaiah 30:21 Amplified reminds believers of God's guidance. Your ears will hear a word behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." Whenever you turn to the right or to the left, by staying on God's path, believers can avoid the distractions and pitfalls that lead to spiritual detours. Purposeful progress. Every step along the King's Highway was intentional. Whether for trade, pilgrimage, or military strategy, travelers moved with purpose, understanding that the route was a means to an end. Similarly, walking in holiness involves purposeful progress towards spiritual maturity and God's promises. Philippians 3:13 through 14 Amplified encourages believers to focus on their ultimate goal, forgetting what lies behind and reaching forward to what lies ahead. I press on toward the goal to win the heavenly prize for the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. By keeping their eyes fixed on Jesus, believers can advance steadily toward their God-given purpose. A journey of transformation. A physical journey along the King's Highway often transformed its travelers, exposing them to new cultures, ideas, and experiences. Likewise, the spiritual highway of holiness is a journey of transformation. As believers walk in righteousness, their lives are renewed and shaped by God's presence. Romans 12:2 Amplified captures this process. Do not be conformed to this world any longer with its superficial values and customs, but be transformed and progressively changed as you mature spiritually by the renewing of your mind. The journey of faith changes believers from the inside out, preparing them for the legacy God has planned. Trusting in Jesus, the key to walking God's path. Walking in holiness is not a solo endeavor. It requires complete reliance on Jesus, who declared in John 14:6 Amplified, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Jesus is the ultimate guide on the highway of holiness, leading believers toward divine purpose and fulfillment, trusting God's provision. Just as ancient travelers relied on the resources and rest stops along the King's Highway, believers must trust God to provide for their needs on the spiritual journey. God's provision is not only physical, but also spiritual, sustaining believers through every trial and triumph. Matthew 6:33 Amplified assures believers of God's care. But first and most importantly, seek, aim at, strive after His kingdom and His righteousness, His way of doing and being right, the attitude and character of God, and all the things will be given to you also. When believers prioritize God's path, He ensures their needs are met, overcoming obstacles with faith. The King's Highway was not without its challenges, rugged terrain, hostile territories, and the weariness of long journeys, yet travelers pressed on, trusting in the highway's reliability. In the same way, the journey of faith is marked by obstacles that require steadfast trust in God. Isaiah 41:10 Amplified offers reassurance. Do not fear anything, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Be assured I will help you. Faith in Jesus empowers believers to overcome barriers and continue walking in holiness. Living with eternal perspective. Travelers on the King's Highway often journeyed with a destination in mind, whether it was a bustling city or a sacred site. Similarly, believers walk the spiritual highway with the eternal perspective of reaching God's kingdom. This perspective shapes their choices, priorities, and actions, aligning them with God's will. Colossians 3:2 Amplified encourages believers to focus on eternal goals. Set your mind and keep focused habitually on the things above, the heavenly things, not on things that are on the earth, which have only temporal value. By living with eternity in view, believers can navigate life's challenges with hope and purpose. Unlocking accelerated success and legacy. The King's Highway, both a physical route and a spiritual metaphor, reveals principles for achieving success and leaving a lasting legacy. Walking God's path is not about striving in human strength, but about embracing His divine guidance and provision, aligning with God's timing. The King's Highway taught travelers the importance of patience and timing. Reaching the destination required deliberate progress and trust in the journey's pace. For believers, accelerated success comes from aligning with God's timing rather than rushing ahead. Ecclesiastes 3:11 Amplified affirms God's perfect timing. He has made everything beautiful and appropriate in its time. Trusting in His timing allows believers to walk in step with His plan, ensuring success that is both meaningful and enduring. Living a legacy of holiness. Walking the highway of holiness is about more than personal success. It's about leaving a legacy of faith for future generations. Just as the King's Highway connected cultures and carried stories across centuries, a life lived in holiness impacts others and glorifies God. Psalm 78:4 Amplified calls believers to share their faith. We will not hide from their children, but we will tell to the generation to come the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord. By walking in God's path, believers inspire others to follow the highway of holiness, creating a legacy that echoes into eternity, experiencing God's promises. The ultimate reward in walking in holiness is experiencing God's promises. Isaiah 35 describes the blessings of the highway, including joy, restoration, and salvation. For believers, these promises are fulfilled in Jesus, who leads them to abundant life. John 10:10 Amplified declares, Jesus' purpose, I came that they may have life, and have it in abundance, to the full, till it overflows. Walking in God's path unlocks a life of purpose, fulfillment, and divine blessing. Conclusion. The King's Highway, with its historical significance and spiritual symbolism, offers timeless lessons for modern believers. It is a reminder that walking in holiness is a journey of faith, marked by trust in Jesus, alignment with God's will, and a focus on eternal goals. By following the highway of holiness, believers discover their divine purpose and unlock accelerated success and legacy. The journey may have its challenges, but it is one of transformation, fulfillment, and joy. As Isaiah 35:8 promises, the path leads to restoration and glory, reflecting God's faithfulness and the blessings of a life set apart for Him. Walking the King's Highway is not just about traversing ancient lands. It's about walking with Jesus, finding purpose, and leaving a legacy of faith that points others to the way, the truth, and the life. All right, well, that concludes this lesson. Thank you for following me through it. Like the video, subscribe to my channel. Also, my name, again, is Scott Perdue. I'm an Amazon author of over 100 books on Amazon, lots of Christian books, self-help books. Next time you're on Amazon, go to the search bar, type in my name, Scott Perdue. Pull up all those wonderful options. Find some that are suitable to you. Add them to cart. Get them in your life right away. It's wonderful wisdom there for you. Again, thanks for watching this video today. It's a 10-part series. Follow through the rest of the book series. Great information about the King's Highway there for you. Have a blessed day.